I first became aware of the Lady of Shalott through the Anne of Green Gables book when I was a child. Anne of Green Gables, as you may remember if you've read that beloved classic, tries to play the Lady of Shalott and float down a creek with a pretty significant disaster. Her boat, her barge sinks. But it was a poem that really inspired a lot of interest in the Victorian period for several reasons. The Lady of Shalott is a mysterious figure. She doesn't really appear very much, if at all, in the Arthurian legend, but tales of chivalry were big during the Victorian era, and there was a whole movement in art and literature to go back to the Middle Ages because it was a pure time before the dirt and clamor of industrialization, and many artists felt that going back to the roots of British civilization during the Middle Ages would show a happier, simpler time before machines started dirtying everything up. And certainly there's a pastoral sense, a sense of the countryside in this poem, and we see that from the very first stanza. On either side the river lie long fields of barley and of rye that clothe the wold and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by to many-towered Camelot. The yellow-leaved water-lily, the green-sheathed daffodilly, tremble in the water chilly round about Shalott. So Shalott is a place. It's a castle, and the Lady of Shalott is the person who lives in the castle. We don't know any more about her than that. But again, we get a very pastoral description here, and note the rhyme scheme. Lots of times consecutive rhyming lines strike us as funny. Certainly hip-hop music is an exception. I'm not going to make a case that Tennyson is a hip-hop poet because I don't think that was his intention. But like the hip-hop poets, his word choice is important here. Long fields of barley and of rye that clothe the wold and meet the sky. There is something very euphonious in his writing, very, very pleasing to the ear, a singing quality, some critics call it. And although the modernists despised Tennyson for that and felt that imagery was the way to go, really the lyricism, the singing quality of his work is notable too. So we have this refrain of Camelot in the middle of the stanza, followed by a completely different rhyme scheme in the second half. So that's kind of how every stanza in the poem goes. But we notice we approach Shalott from a distance, coming through kind of like the drone view overhead, seeing what's below us, almost like a movie camera zeroing in on the place we're going. So as we travel to Shalott, this is what we see. Willows whiten, aspens shiver, the sunbeam showers break and quiver in the stream that runneth ever by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot. Everything begins and ends with Camelot. Again, what does Camelot represent? The ideal of chivalry. The ideal that might does not make right, and that the strong need to help the weak. And that's a concept called noblesse oblige. And the idea that the strong need to help the weak is a foundational ideal of the chivalry that the 19th century embraced. So here we have the natural world flowing down to Camelot, this river. Shalott is on an island in the river, and what does it look like? From the beauty of nature, we see very clearly that Shalott is a gray and grim place. 4 gray walls and 4 gray towers sounds like a prison, doesn't it? Overlook a space of flowers, and the silent hour embowers the lady of Shalott. And that's the first we hear of her, that she lives in this prison-like castle on the island. Underneath the bearded barley, how do we know she's there? So the next stanza talks about how do we know she's even there? Underneath the bearded barley, the reaper reaping late and early, hears her ever chanting cheerly, like an angel singing clearly, o'er the stream of Camelot. Again, Camelot is pivotal here. This ideal of chivalry, of lords and ladies. Again, so the first thing we know about her is that she sings like an angel. And this term angel is important because of the Victorian idea of the angel in the house. That women's role is largely, middle-class women are expected to be like angels in the house, seeing to the needs of their families. O'er the stream of Camelot, piling the sheaves in furrows airy, beneath the moon the reaper weary, listening whispers, 'tis the fairy lady of Shalott. She's mysterious to them. Her power, they give her the power that they attribute to fairies, some kind of magical spells. The little isle is all enrailed with a rose fence and overtrailed with roses. By the marge unhailed, the shallop flitteth silken sailed. A shallop is a kind of shallow boat, skimming down to Camelot. A pearl garland winds her head. She leaneth on a velvet bed, full royally apparelled, the lady of Shalott. So what do people outside the castle know about her? They hear her voice. She's mysterious. They think she's a fairy endowed with magic powers. What does she really look like? She has a pearl garland around her head. She's wealthy. She leaneth on a velvet bed and full royally apparelled. So she has beautiful clothes, expensive clothes. But what does she do all day? What does a woman do in this castle? She has magic powers. How does she use those powers? No time hath she to sport and play. A charmed web she weaves alway. A curse is on her if she stay her weaving either night or day, to look down to Camelot. Okay, so now we're learning something else about her relationship to Camelot. A charmed web she weaves alway. And she's under some kind of compulsion, a magic spell, to do weaving. And again, what does weaving represent? It is a household task that medieval women would have taken on. I'm not sure that someone who wore pearls and jewelry and lies on a velvet bed would be weaving, but the Lady of Shalott is weaving. And she believes that a curse is on her if she stay her weaving either night or day. So somebody has put a spell on her that she must weave, weave, weave. She cannot enjoy the fresh air, the beauty of nature outside. She has to work in that house, and her weaving is her work. Again, this makes us think of other narratives like the Odyssey, where Penelope, the wife of Odysseus, spends her days weaving. She tells the suitors that as soon as she finishes this piece of weaving, that she will marry one of them, but every night she untangles the weaving and starts again from scratch because she doesn't want to marry anyone but Odysseus. And so this idea of weaving as a royal pursuit is not unknown. But more about the curse. She's not to look down to Camelot. She's supposed to keep her eye on her work. She knows not what the curse may be. Therefore she weaveth steadily. Therefore no other care hath she, the Lady of Shalott. doesn't know what the curse is, but she's been told she must keep weaving. Okay. She lives with little joy or fear, over the water running near. The sheep bell tinkles in her ear. Before her hangs a mirror clear. She lives with little joy or fear, over the water running near. So notice, little joy, little fear. What kind of a life has neither joy nor fear? So she's not really happy, she's not really frightened, she's living kind of a dull, just get through it, subsistence existence. The only music she has is a sheep bell, though she herself sings sometimes, we know that. Before her hangs a mirror clear. Before her here hangs a mirror clear, reflecting towered Camelot. And as the mazy web she whirls, she sees the surly village churls, and the red cloaks of market girls pass onward from Shalott. So the mirror shows her what she's missing behind her. So the mirror reflects what she can't see in the direction of Camelot, that she's not supposed to see. Sometimes a troop of damsels glad, an abbot on an ambling pad, a slow horse. Sometimes a curly shepherd lad or long-haired page in crimson clad goes by to towered Camelot. And so Camelot, again, repeated in the middle of every stanza, stands for the big city, the big metropolis, the center of culture in medieval England, at least in the tales of chivalry of knights of King Arthur. Sometimes through the mirror blue the knights come riding two and two. She hath no loyal knight and true, the Lady of Shalott. And of course that reminds us that in the code of chivalry, it was not about fulfilling sexual desire. It was not about fulfilling sexual desire. It was about expressing your romantic love from afar. And she knows when she sees these men going by, or men and maids going hand in hand, that she has no consort to delight her or to give her something else to think about other than her work. But in her web she still delights to weave the mirror's magic sights. So what is it that she's weaving? She weaves what she sees in the mirror behind her. It is a reflected life. It is a life that she doesn't live. She only sees through a mirror. For often through the silent nights, a funeral with plumes and lights and music came from Camelot. So death. Or when the moon was overhead, came two young lovers lately wed. I am half sick of shadows, said the Lady of Shalott. She sees death. She knows that death is coming soon for her. And she wishes that she could have the loving relationship before death comes to claim her, that these commoners clearly enjoy. And she says, I am half sick of shadows, the things that she can only see through a mirror. She can't go out and live these things. A bow shot from her bower eaves, he rode between the barley sheaves. The sun came dazzling through the leaves, and flamed upon the brazen greaves of bold Sir Lancelot. A red-crossed knight forever kneeled to a lady in his shield that sparkled on the yellow field, remote beside remote Shalott. The gemmy bridle glittered free, like to some branch of stars we see, hung in the golden galaxy. The bridle bells rang merrily as he rode down from Camelot, and from his blazoned baldric slung a mighty silver bugle hung, and as he rode his armor rung beside remote Shalott. So here is someone who troubles the peace and serenity of the Lady of Shalott. All in the blue unclouded weather, thick jeweled shone the saddle leather. The helmet and the helmet feather burned like one burning flame together as he rode down from Camelot. As often through the purple night, below the starry clusters bright, some bearded meteor trailing light moves over green Shalott. He's like a meteor compared to the common people and